Andrea Heuston here. I am the hostess of the Lead Like a Woman show, where I feature strong, amazing, and brilliant female leaders and how they're changing our world for the better. We have over 40,000 people on social media who are sharing our message of empowering female leaders to empower others. Keep sharing. Follow the show right now as you listen. Share it with a friend. And if you're so inclined, we would love a 5-star review on Apple. We have charted all over the world. In fact, last week we were in Belgium again. Thank you to the Belgian people. We would love to chart in the US. It's something that we haven't done yet in the 4 years and over 200 episodes. So give us a follow and give us a review. We'd appreciate it. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the skills that leaders need today to succeed in the world where we are and how we are. But first, before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by Artitudes. Are you a woman who wants to start a business or do you already own one? Artitudes has a special offer just for you. Learn to pitch for funding and for sales with our women-owned package. It includes content and speaker coaching and a pitch or sales presentation so that you can win with confidence. You can find it at artitudes.com/women-owned. That's women with an E. We're collective here. And the best way to find me is #LeadLikeAWoman. Just put that into your search bar and it's kind of magic. I come up. Or as always, I am all over LinkedIn. So today's guest, Kathy Andrews, is an experienced executive facilitator and culture strategist. Well, I love that, a culture strategist. Isn't that cool? With a solid 25-year track record in diverse sectors in private, public, and nonprofit organizations. She excels at connecting in the room, bridging business strategy with organizational culture, developing impactful people programs that drive alignment and results. Kathy's extensive experience in global HR and leadership development provides her with a distinct perspective that strengthens her facilitation and strategic planning skills. Her expertise is recognized internationally with significant contributions in various regions, including the US, Canada, Europe, and South America. Her clientele include top-performing organizations like TK, Lululemon, Methanex, Asenco, and Canfor. Her academic background is robust with a Master of Arts in Leadership from Royal Roads University and a Bachelor of Social Science from Rhodes University. Additionally, her expertise is backed by a suite of professional certifications, including Korn Ferry Leadership Architect, Team Management Systems, and Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Myers-Briggs, that's always a fun one. Kathy, welcome to the Lead Like a Woman show.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It was lovely to hear your take on that bio that was submitted. So wonderful to be here and to be in this conversation that is so relevant and so important today. What are the leadership skills we need to be focused on with so much changing in the business landscape?
And there's a lot of change. So let's get to it. So from learning and development to director of human resources to Singa, what led you to start your own business?
Thank you. I actually started a step ahead of that, and that was a career in information technology. My dad in my youth encouraged me to go out and get some hard skills behind me. So in my
hard skills.
My undergrad was a bridge of information technology skills and industrial psychology, which was really the passion. I was raised by a family of teachers and academics, and I was always fascinated by people, and my family thought that I would end up as an academic teacher or a teacher of children, but that wasn't quite a fit for me, certainly when I embarked on my university journey. So I ended up coming out of university in South Africa just at the time when affirmative action was coming into place. Things were pretty hot those days in South Africa, crime-wise, they continue to be, but that wasn't the place that I felt like I could start my career in the ways that I wanted to. So I moved to London, and then I moved to Canada and embarked on a technology, sort of first 4 years, got put into a leadership role really young. I was 23. And
oh, wow.
Myself managing 4 men, all much older than me, with very little mentoring, coaching, training. So I went off and I bought the 1 Minute Manager by Kendall.
I love the 1 Minute Manager. I used to read that all the time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic one. And I read it and I tried to apply it all the next day. And that didn't go so well. So
I'm sorry, I just love that story because there's so many of us who do things like that. Okay, I've read the book, now let's go implement.
Let's go.
Wait.
I try to chameleon into a bunch of different behaviors, and I hadn't really seen it done well. And so I took a pause. I was lucky enough to be recruited by a bigger organization. You mentioned them earlier, TK. What a fabulous place to sort of start a career in earnest. And I was able to work with some phenomenal leaders in that organization. They were a phenomenal organizational development shop. They had Jim Collins amazing philosophies embedded, and just some wonderful disciplines that I was able to learn from. They facilitated a move into human resources, and my passion for leader development, for learning, for the difference that these tools could make to the experience at work was set. And so then I ended up specializing, doing a master's, and continuing to focus in this leadership and learning space. And continued on to become a senior HR executive, managing a big team globally for a multinational, which is fantastic. And always had the dream of starting my own thing so that I could focus purely on the spaces that I loved. And so I started Singer.
I love it.
That's how I, got to do what I'm doing today.
I love everyone's journey. It's always so fascinating to hear where you started and where you are now, because we don't know where we're going to end, but where you started and where you are now. So I want to know from you, Kathy, when you started Singer, I'm sure there were many things that you had to learn, but what I really want to know is what went right.
Love that question. My goodness. I think I had a phenomenal client who sponsored and supported and was the raving fan.
I love that.
Anybody starting, you do need your one raving fan. And gosh, I'm grateful to her. And she knows who she is and will likely listen to this and needs to continue to realize the impact that she's had on our business.
That's beautiful.
And connected the dots for us. And so that raving fan and how you're able to then build on the successes that you've had will really help lend momentum to whatever you're doing.
That is so very true. We all need that advocate, or that I like raving fan better. I think that's a great way to put it. So, I did a little bit of research into you because I thought, well, I always do, but also I was interested and I want to know, I know already. So let me rephrase that. I want our listeners to know how you came up with the name Singer. Where does that name come from and what does it mean?
I was looking for a word that started with a C, resonated with and I wanted it to pick up on my South African heritage. And when I was little, as I mentioned, my dad was an academic, and on his desk, he had a piece of swag he'd picked up through his travels from IBM. IBM's logo in the 1980s, I don't know if you'll remember, was Think. It's Think. So computers think. Brilliant. And even that swag today, if you look for it on eBay, it's worth a lot of money. And so he had this on his desk. So as a little girl walking into my daddy's office, I would see Think as the first word. And so it was a sort of theme of my daddy's office.
I like
you go in there and he's a professor. And so I was looking at words that could have a catchy, short sort of ring to them. And I found a Xhosa word, Singer, which means think. People pay us to do the thinking, and the thought leadership is what we need to provide our clients. That's the story behind it.
So you said Xhosa, right? Did you
Xhosa.
Xhosa. So just to give some background as well, that is a member of South African people traditionally living in the Eastern Cape province, and they form the second largest ethnic group in South Africa after the Zulus. So pretty incredible. The Bantu language is really what the language is, but it's spoken by over 7 million people.
Yes.
And it is referred to as kosa or kozai. So yeah, that's fabulous. So it means think. I think that's fabulous. I think that's fabulous.
Very much. Yes.
Yeah. I love words and brands that make me question what they are and where they came from, because you learn when you're questioning.
I do agree with that. It's a fantastic way to think about and explore different.
So Singa, then, you do a lot within Singa. In fact, Singa is a leadership and learning company and really does focus on the thinking. So you have some new programs or some programs that you really are working hard at. And those are your executive leadership learning programs. Would you tell our listeners a little bit about those?
One of the reasons clients call us is they've got a group of leaders in their organization that they really want to develop and invest in because they potentially could take on bigger roles. And there's lots of options that they have, of course, to send their leaders externally. But the companies that invest in developing their own leadership program, their own cohort, I think do benefit in significant ways that you just don't get if you send people off to even, the likes of Harvard or INSEAD. Those are beautiful experiences. And of course, there's cachet going to those incredible institutions or even local equivalents. But when organizations take the time to develop their own leadership development program that then becomes the common language of their business and spend some time developing in that pool of leaders or level of leaders, over a period of 6 to 8 months, we just see extraordinary results. We see phenomenal results in engagement, increased trust in this network of high-performing peers, and even sort of their leaders reporting improved productivity. So we just love the model of these bespoke 6 to 8 month leader program for mid to senior leaders to accelerate that journey and build culture. We say you don't get the culture you wish for, you get the culture you deserve.
You get the culture you deserve. Yes, that is so true.
Yeah. And if you're not actively attending to your culture every single day in an organization, it's probably one you don't like. And instead of supporting your strategy, it's going to undermine it. So that's the work that we're in and we love, and we're just getting wonderful results, and the phone is ringing.
That's fabulous. The phone is ringing. I like that. So you were 23 years old and you were thrust into a leadership role. How did you feel at the time about that? And can you give us some emotions around that?
Yeah.
Being 23 and being thrust into that role.
For sure. Yeah. It was a very intense time because it wasn't a small job. There was a 24/7 global telecom frontline help desk with shift workers that needed a bunch of different things from me as a leader. And it was in the days of Blackberries. And my Blackberry was just a 24/7 interruption. And I was
the electronic leash.
Right. I was good to it. So definitely felt overwhelmed at times and excited. It was a real mixture. Felt honored for the opportunity. I felt like I had a lot to offer. And intuitively, I had leadership skills from the sports I'd played and the wonderful role models I'd had growing up, but I just hadn't had the time to develop the language and the scripts that you need to really engage and enroll people. And I hadn't had it modeled in a business context yet. To which I needed it anyway at that time. So I do really empathize with people taking roles on that young without guidance and without training. So that's why we do what we do.
It's a great impetus for the career you have now and for the learning that you did in order to know what other executives, young executives need, and to create that for others. So you do that, but you also really work on effective ways for leaders to engage a team and creating inclusive cultures and things like that are also very important, but also creating a positive conflict resolution environment. Which of these things would you say is paramount for a young leader to learn?
I think the conflict resolution for sure is getting comfortable with the tension that is necessary to make good decisions.
The tension that is necessary to make decisions. That is so valuable. Because we don't learn that. Is that something that is intuitive usually? That is something that you need to learn, and it takes experience to get there. So how do you bridge that gap? How does Singa bridge that gap for those leaders?
We talk about the difference between healthy and unhealthy conflict. Healthy conflict is when there's a rigorous debate, when people are talking straight, they're playing all sides, but they're attacking the problem, not the personalities or people. The unhealthy stuff is where you get into personal attacks or the sidebars, the gossip, people get shut down, or the very nasty passive-aggressive behavior, which can turn the best teams into pretty toxic, sludgy situations. So we really talk about the necessity of conflict, and these days we're talking a lot more about psychological safety and keeping teams in those zones where they feel they can speak the truth, even to power, versus the unhealthy stuff where you're just not seeing honest communication, or you're seeing it at the water cooler behind others' backs or out of the room. Or the meetings after the meetings.
Oh, the meetings after the meetings. Yes, I remember that. Wow. Well, I think it's really important to understand that you have to also create an inclusive and positive work environment. There's no way to have those positive conversations and positive conflicts without having established that environment first. So how do you suggest building a positive work environment?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. And you started with inclusion. And I think today...
And inclusion,
yeah, more important than ever. And inclusion really starts with self-awareness.
Oh, it does, yeah.
It doesn't start with behaviors. It starts with really being aware of the impact that you have on others as much as you're able to. We all have blind spots, or forgive me, we all have things we need to work on, or that our impact is something we're not intending.
Right.
And to do that work, to really understand, you do need to be comfortable with getting feedback from people and an honest.
I think feedback is a gift.
Feedback is, yes, it's a very important part of being a leader. And one of the metaphors that I really like is that work is not visible to people.
That's true.
You own a house versus you rent a house. Renters live in a home, and they might slap a new wall of paint on or switch out some furniture, but they're not really attending to the foundations. Whereas if you're an owner, you're doing a lot of the work, like the plumbing or the electrical. And that's where the work of self-awareness and inclusion lives, because you're looking at your biases, you're looking at your beliefs, you're sort of understanding where your behaviors are coming from and the roots of those, and then really taking a close look, honest look and assessment. And that's not that nobody's going to know you're doing that, but ultimately it impacts your behavior and your ability to connect with people.
Oh, it absolutely does. I mean, you need to learn more about yourself before you can understand your impact on the communications with other people. And I feel sometimes that people don't, I know sometimes that people don't quite understand that. Rather, they come at everything from their point of view only. Like, this is the way it is. This is my point of view, so this is right, which is not the way to best communicate. When I was early in my business, and I've owned my business for 29 years now, but when I was early in my business in Arctic Tubes, I came at communication from my point of view. I was very direct. I was very, okay, this is done, you're good. Didn't work for everybody. In fact, I had people who really needed more feedback. They needed more positive feedback. They needed more information. They thought I was too brusque. And so after doing a 360 review, I started to learn how to communicate with people based on their communication styles versus mine. And it made all the difference in the world. It created a healthier workplace for all of us, because we all learned that as well. I didn't want anyone wasting my time. I do a lot of work around the generations, and I'm a very typical Gen X. Please don't waste my time. That's my whole thing. But I had baby boomers who wanted to establish a relationship first. They wanted to know that you cared about them. They wanted, to understand. And then I had millennials coming up through the workplace who communicated completely differently than me because they were always sourcing information from their friends. They were crowdsourcing, I used to call it. And so it's very, very different. And understanding that is paramount to creating that positive work culture that's also inclusive of others.
100%. Good for you for embarking on a journey of a 360 process. That's always fantastic. It's hard at times to hear
yes,
an assessment of where you're strong and where you have to take a look at things. And it's important that you take that step because it gives your team permission to do the same and then identify and work on the things that they need to work on. So,
absolutely. I think it's really important also to address bias and barriers. So what would you say about that in building an inclusive workplace? We all have unconscious bias. We all do, period. It's built into who we are from our family of origin and from where we grew up. So how do we address that, Kathy?
Well, unconscious bias by definition is unconscious.
Right.
Which means we have a problem.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
But it's totally normal because it's how our brains work. We have to we have to be on autopilot for many of the things that we do in life. For me, I keep it really simple. And that is when you are making big people decisions, slow down.
That's important. Slow down.
And so that includes your hiring. You're hiring very slowly. You're promoting slowly because you want to make sure that your biases are checked and that you're thinking before you make a big decision about offering somebody the leg up or the role that you are doing it. You are eyes wide open. And sometimes that slowing down could include consultation with whatever mechanism you've got internally, diversity, equity, inclusion committee, or your talent acquisition hiring team that probably is alive to these needs these days, hopefully. And if those things don't exist, again, it's just slowing down and going, is this the best person for the role holistically? And then looking at, does this person look and sound or behave like me? Are they very much like me? In which case, that's a flag because that's not always going to bring the most to the organization and the team. So,
yes, you are absolutely correct on that.
Yeah, we tend to gravitate to people that are like us or who we like. It's normal. It's just that it's not going to be a sustainable talent strategy if you're trying to grow successful organizations.
So what is a sustainable talent strategy for a successful organization? Just to build on what you just said.
Yes, the evidence is clear that diverse teams perform better, bottom line. And it's for what we were talking about earlier. It's that we make better decisions when we have different perspectives at the table. And when it comes to executive teams in particular, they do need a variety of perspectives to round out decision making. And the best way to do that, of course, is to bring people with different thinking styles, lived experience, backgrounds to the table, and to hash it out so that their teams don't have to on their behalf.
Mm-hmm. But in a positive way, hash it out in a positive way.
In a very positive way, yeah.
Like exactly. We were talking about earlier about the positive work environment and how important that is as well.
Absolutely.
Wow, you have a lot to share. Tell me a little bit, what is the one thing you love doing most in your professional life?
Oh, that's a lovely question. When I get online or in a room full of people and we're about to embark on a new leadership program with those lovely human beings, the moment where we start strong with a powerful activity that shifts minds, and I see this twinkle in people's eye, I am thrilled. I'm excited. I'm jazzed. And as the days go by or the hours go by and people feel more comfortable in sharing what's really going on for them and you can see that what we're offering and what we're doing together is helpful, nothing feels better to me. And then the follow-ups, of course, from people afterwards that come and share the impact that some of these events and experiences have had on them. There's nothing better.
I think that's true. I like the fact that you said it gets you jazzed. I think that's really, that's something that I get, that people can relate to. It's something I say, it lights me up.
Yeah. It's great. Same. Yeah, it does.
Beautiful. So Kathy, I know you probably had mentors in your life. I mean, we just spoke about one of them. In the context of the conversation a little earlier. But what is one piece of advice you've received from somebody in your life that's really stuck with you to this day?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I think early on in my career, when I moved from technology into the people space, somebody gave me some feedback around being comfortable with ambiguity.
Ooh, yes.
Time I was bringing all of the structure, process, and organization skills that I'd learned, project management, change management, my IT career, into the people space. And when it comes to people, the being fluid and flexibility, but being comfortable with that is so important, and not holding too tightly onto things, because you do need to be present and open to what people present in the moment. You never have all the information, and you've got to treat people differently than processes and structure. It sounds so simple, but for me at the time that was massive, and it still serves me well, because people are just so wonderful and layered. And
they are, aren't they? They are layered.
Write a policy, write a process. It's going to be exceptions needed.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with that. Yeah. I needed to get that message early on.
So what kind of advice would you give? What would you say to women who are new to a leadership role, but are really, really, they want to make their mark, they want to lead well? What would you say to them?
That's a really good one. I've got two parts to answer that. And first is that with AI and the pace that AI is moving, there's so much of the way we work that will be automated, sped up, replaced.
Yes.
So as human beings, I think one of the stories that just won't be replaced is authentic storytelling. All of us love a story. All of us learn from story.
Yes, we do.
And we want to hear the humans behind those stories. We want to hear the human story. And so I think coming out of university, or if you're in a business role, or you're learning about management and looking forward, get to a storytelling workshop, master that skill now, because it will serve you well and it's irreplaceable. Absolutely
true. And I just have to say, I'm going to plug me and Art Two. I'm going to plug my company. We are storytellers. And I just gave a workshop this morning to 50 business owners who are trying to learn how to pitch about storytelling and how important it is. So utterly important. It's the number one thing that I love is storytelling, because it connects humans on a human level. So that was part one, Kathy, and I interrupted you. What is part two?
People often say that communication is a skill that people need to learn. And, there's tons of workshops that can teach you how to communicate. And I feel it's not a skill that supports relationships. It is the relationship.
It is the relationship.
Is the relationship.
It is.
And so your comms skills, your ability to bottom line things, to land a plane, to connect, engage, enroll, develop a compelling vision, all those skills are essential. So start paying attention to those that do it well and work on it.
Start paying attention to those who do it well and work on it. That's beautiful. Well, Kathy, this has been fun, but I believe that every woman on earth has a superpower. What is yours?
My goodness. I wonder if you asked my team that question, if they'd say the same thing. I think the feedback that I get most frequently Because I'm kind.
Oh, kindness is such a superpower.
And
it is missing a lot of the places where we play, live, and work. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm kind. For sure. It's a grounding value.
It is a grounding value. And it's the base of everything you do.
100%. Yes.
That's amazing and beautiful. So we've had such a fun conversation today with you, Kathy Andrews, founder and managing director of Singa. Now, is it Singa Learning and Leadership or just Singa?
Either way.
All right, either way. Well, Kathy, where can we find you online?
You can go to singaleadership.com. Oh. Or you can go on my LinkedIn profile, Kathy Andrews, and there's lots about us there and our stories. So I look forward to hearing you. If you go onto our website, you can book a time and have a chat with us about our various services. And we'd love to support your company in building the culture that you deserve.
Excellent. The culture that you deserve. Kathy, thank you for being here today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me, Andrea. Wonderful to meet you. Of course.
Nice to meet you too. And listeners, I want you to remember that we all have superpowers. Kathy has the superpower of kindness. That is a base level important superpower to have. I have superpowers, listeners, and so do you. So please use them for good. And thank you for listening today to the Lead Like a Woman show, where we are passionate about empowering women leaders to empower others. Now go figure out storytelling and how to tell it so you connect with others. Have a great day.